Okay, so hey guys, welcome back to another Axel 72 video. Pleasure to be joined by Adam Smith today. Adam, first of all, how are we?
Very good, thank you. Very excited about tomorrow night. It's a double one for me because I'm involved obviously in the Coming of Age, which is a fabulous show for GBM Sports here in the Steel City. Can't wait for that. Top to bottom, it's stacked and packed as we've seen at the weigh-in. Shaq Thompson, Hughie Fury, the Irish duo, the Commonwealth title fight with the women. It's brilliant. And then I'm hot-footing it down to London to call the Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia fight. So cannot wait for that. One of the great fights in 2024. So yeah, it's a long day for me tomorrow, but this is what boxing's about, isn't it? So yeah, I'm really happy. I'm happy to be here. I'm healthy. I'm grateful for that. And yeah, very excited to be working with Izzy at GBM and with Ollie Weingarten at Summit to try and give back to athletes and hopefully help them through their journeys.
And you're somebody who I've always really wanted to speak to because you have so much knowledge and you're so good at, I suppose, speaking as well. And it's always nice to see as an interviewer that as well. And I suppose I want to talk about the card more in just a moment, but I want to ask one question. Obviously, it's weigh-in day today. If I'm to ask you maybe one of your crazier weigh-in stories that you might have, what could you give me?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. Someone asked me yesterday what was my favourite fight that I've commentated on. No question with that was Diego Corrales and Jose Luis Castillo. The most incredible, weird, mad press conferences got to be Chisora and Dillian White with the table throwing, but also the one that people forget was David Haye and Tyson Fury, the fight that never happened. That press conference was absolutely mad. Also the Tyson Fury Vladimir Klitschko at in Osterley when he came in as Batman. There's been some mad stuff. Weigh-ins, wow. A Ricky Hatton weigh-in. Gosh, that's a really good question. The weigh-in I was most devastated about. I tell you, the most surprising weigh-in was Corrales Castillo 3, the fight that never happened because Castillo came in at 5 pounds over. That was unbelievable. There's many others. There's been fights at weigh-ins. There's been pushing, shoving. Acelino Freitas, Barry Jones. Barry and I were talking about it the other day. Acelino Freitas, when he got on the scales, I don't think he was on the scales, but he was almost like hovering over them. They had to get him off the scales and get him rehydrated so quickly. He was so huge at the weight. So yeah, lots of tales of weigh-ins. I'll have to think. I'll come back to you.
Of course, and I suppose, you see in kind of mixed martial arts a bit more the problems with weigh-ins and things like that. Do you feel like boxing, they're improving and the whole kind of health-wise of it is getting better?
Health is paramount to the sport, right? It's a dangerous, dangerous sport, boxing, and I've been unfortunately involved in some tragedies as well. James Murray, we lost. James and I spent time together before his fight with Drew Docherty back in October of 1995. Terrible, terrible, terrible time. And Spencer Oliver, Paul Ingle, loads of fighters that have had difficulties. All the way back to Michael Watson, who's a really good friend of mine now. And we obviously the British board looks after the safety, the physical well-being, as well as the mental health too as well. A lot of people are questioning the build-up over in the States with Haney and Garcia, and yeah, mentally and physically fighters have got to be in the best possible condition. Weigh-ins are there for a reason, and they're there the day before. It used to be on the day. A lot of thought about rehydration, check weights, in camp and all the way through. So yeah, it's a dangerous sport, and it's a sport that every fighter knows is dangerous, but as safe as we can make it, obviously. So yeah, the more they look into that and the more they work and the more science involved, the better for the fighters. Let's keep them as safe as we can be.
Indeed, and to touch upon the card we've got tomorrow night, a lot of good young talent coming through. And when you're, I suppose, commentating fights and just watching fights in general, what are you looking for in these up-and-coming fighters?
Yeah, again, another good question. Young prospects, looking at how they learn, the education, that sort of move from the amateur ranks maybe into the early pro ranks, and how they're developing into a professional fighter, how they're dealing with different styles, whether they're journeymen, whether they're real fighters or weight fighters coming to win. They've got to go through a whole different range of opponents to test them, how they deal with these sort of things, the media side, the weigh-in, how they deal with the night itself, the ticket selling, the whole sort of focus, what do I look at in commentary? I look at their feet a lot. I look at how their feet are moving. I think that's the key to a really good fighter, how they move their feet, the distance, the timing. But yeah, I think just in their early days, it's how they develop. And also, if you have a bad night or a loss, it's not the end of the world. Johnny Nelson lost his first 3 professional fights. He lost 10 out of 13 as an amateur. There's always hope if you want to keep going. There's resilience, and yeah, you've got to have a really good team behind you. But in the ring, you've just got to work out your opponent and perform to the best of your ability. And sometimes you're not there. Sometimes you've overtrained, undertrained. Just the lights aren't on for you, so you can have a bad night, but it's also not to get too hooked up on the fact that it's a bad night. You just got to get back to the gym and go again. So it's a hard, tough, long journey ahead, but I think fight by fight, just take it a day at a time, and that's normally a good philosophy. I do, coming back from a horrendous mental, physical health issues. I had really, really dangerous, bad, horrible cancer, and it's hard. Life's hard, right? And I think when you go through things like that and you go through difficulties, you understand what every day is all about. And I'm grateful just to be here. So I think sometimes fighters get too, don't worry too much about social media, and what people say. Don't worry about criticism. Listen to people you want to listen to, but also just try and develop yourself. Mature through it. And I realise there's going to be ups and downs, as in everyday life. But boxing's a tough business, and I want to be there to help our fighters as much as possible, because it's all very well on the great days when they're boxing well and they're winning fights, but on the rainy ones when things aren't so good and they're pretty dejected and having done run after run or spar after spar and they're not getting anywhere or they're not getting a fight, that's when they can need us most. So I want to look after them as holistically with their health as well, because that's really important for every sportsman.
And to speak a little bit about you as as a commentator, of course, to be able to do that job, you have to be very good at public speaking and interactions like that, and be confident in yourself. And have you always had that confidence? And I suppose, what advice could you give to other people with social anxiety and things like that?
Yeah, another really good question. No, I was pretty shy as a kid, and I went to drama school my mum wanted just to develop me a little bit, I think, in front of people, and she was very instrumental in that. And I wanted to be a commentator from a very young age, so I used to have a dictaphone and I used to turn the TV down or the radio down and just have a go myself when I was 8, 9, 10, and I think people thought I was a bit mad. And I had a few friends, and then I got confident, I think, through drama and through doing that, to deal with people, and I love people generally, and so I sort of built, more friends and more connections, and I think it's about resilience. I've got 3 children, and they're all different personalities. My youngest is the most vibrant, but my eldest is quite quiet. But she gets quite anxious, and it's all about confidence. It's about building confidence and becoming passionate, or being passionate about what you want to do. For me, it was sports. For me, it was sports commentary. I just wanted to be a commentator, and nothing was going to stop me. So, my advice is public speaking is difficult. But it's about being authentic. It's about being yourself, and it's about learning just to be in front of people and communicate. And you'll get there. It's just believe in yourself and believe in what you want to do. I think that's the most important thing. And live your dreams. If people say you can't do it, prove to them you can. I always believed that. I wanted to be a commentator, and nothing was going to stop me. And people said you're rubbish, you're good, or whatever. You've just got to sort of get on with it. If you believe that you can come through it, you sort of will, I think. You've got to break doors down, but believe in yourself. And but I was a very quiet kid, and I needed drama. I needed confidence building and boosting. And still, I'm very sensitive. I'm very shy in situations, and it's difficult. But I think when you're authentic and you talk honestly, and that's the way. Everybody's different. Everybody's got their own magic and their own strengths. So my advice to any young reporter, commentator who wants to, or any young kid who wants to go into the media is, just want to do it. Just practice and write and be at sports events and just do it. Break down barriers. Do what Coogan did at IFL. Do what Charlie Parsons is doing. Start off, do it, and you're going to get a break at some point. And I was lucky enough that Sky took me on an amazing journey, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I got my opportunity and I took it, and it's about believing in yourself, and don't get too down when things aren't going your way, and just keep passionate.
No, I really appreciate it as a response. I'm going to take that on board myself, and that's why I thought I'd ask it because it was personal to me. And I want to ask two more questions if that's okay. Sorry to be jumping around with topics and stuff, but obviously the Magna Centre tomorrow. It's a prestigious, historic venue as well for boxing. But what would you say are maybe some underrated venues that you've been to events at?
Wow, another great question. Different questions. I like you. Kirkcaldy, maybe, when Kevin Anderson used to fight there, it was an ice rink. A few ice rinks we've been on. Actually, the one in Coventry was pretty cold. We needed like double socks, I think, Spencer and I last time. Oh my gosh, I've been in some really, really unique venues. Leisure centres up and down the country, over in Ireland, Germany, some mad places around. I mean, there's not many venues I probably haven't been to in America, certainly for boxing. Favourite ones, Madison Square Garden. Favourite ones here. I love the Manchester Arena. There's something magic about that with boxing. Smaller ones, blimey, Burton-on-Trent was that one in Swaddling Coat we went to with Neville Brown. That was fantastic that night. Richie Woodley used to take us to Telford. Glenn Catley to Bristol. I mean, you name it, we've been there. So I think the York Hall, Bethnal Green for history. We don't tend to go there too much, but GBM are going there on May the 24th. And Izzy and I had a chat about where to go in London, and we thought of cool, new venues and that. But there's something about it that both of us are he was a fighter, both of us are boxing fans at our essence. And he thought, right, let's do York Hall because that's the home of British boxing. And so, yeah, York Hall is very special, and the cafe opposite better have their egg and chips ready for us.
Of course. And so one final question for me, and you've been bringing up a lot of names, and I'm going to have to go back and do some research on some of the names you've been bringing up. But for you, who would you say is your favourite ever boxer?
Wow. I grew up idolising Barry McGuigan and Tommy Hearns. They were my two heroes as a kid. I think the fighter probably I got closest to was Ricky Hatton. We had an amazing journey ride. I loved it. Ricky used to chuck us over the house keys. We used to go and make tea in his house, and he was the best I've ever worked with for access. It was incredible. I loved working with Prince Nassim Hamid, being in Sheffield. He was always a challenge. It was always difficult, but he lit up rooms. You're talking about anxiety and somebody that just had it in front of a camera. He had an aura when he went into a room. Loved working with Conor McGregor in the build-up to Floyd Mayweather because of his interviewing was just fantastic. I just loved him. He was a challenge. Favourite fighters. Floyd Mayweather's the greatest fighter I've seen and commentated on live. I've been around him for a long, long time. He's the most impressive guy I've ever seen in the gym and the most impressive fighter I've ever seen in a ring, I think. I worked with Roy Jones, with Shane Mosey, with Oscar De La Hoya, with Diego Corrales, personally one of my favourite fighters. Tragic what happened to Diego. I've worked with wonderful, wonderful fighters. Lennox Lewis, 15 camps with him, probably certainly the greatest British heavyweight, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Some amazing fighters. I think personally my favourite from this side of the pond is probably Joe Calzaghe. I've known Joe since he was a kid. I've got a family connection with Newbridge. For a fighter to become a 3-weight ABA champion and to go 46-0, Joe was amazing. He was a fantastically skilled fighter. He should have been bigger than he was. He didn't really like travelling too far out of Newbridge, but he could have been amazing and big in New York, I think. And he did. He got there in the end. He fought Hopkins and Roy Jones at the back end of his career. He went out at the right time. He told me it was going to be his last fight with Roy, and he was true to his word. I've got massive admiration for Joe Calzaghe. I think he's a special, special fighter. But there's many others. My own commentating partners in Jim Watt and Carl Froch and Matt Macklin and Paulie Malignaggi, and I've worked with so many different people. I feel very, very fortunate. But I think I'll finish with a female fighter. I'm massively proud of working with women's boxing and the ascent of women's boxing. From Jane Couch back in the day to all the ones we have, Tasha Jonas, Chantel Cameron, nowadays Sandy Ryan and Lauren Price fighting for a world title coming up. There's so many of them out there, but I'm going to finish with Katie Taylor because Katie's a friend of mine. I think I admire her probably more than any other athlete I've ever met, from wanting to be a fighter from the age of 11 for dressing up as a boy. Kay Taylor she was till she was 13, 6-time, I think, European amateur champion, 5-time world champion, Olympic gold medalist, carrying the flag for Ireland, pioneer, undisputed. I can't even remember how many belts, how many fights she's won. I just adore Katie, and she's a family friend. So I'll finish with Katie Taylor. I think she's a fighter that will only come on once in a lifetime, and I'm just delighted that she's got a big money fight against Amanda Serrano. She can walk the streets of Ireland forever. She can be carried in Ireland forever, and so she should be. She's an absolute diamond, and she has kept her feet on the ground. She is the Katie Taylor I met years ago. She's the same person, and that's a pretty good outcome after all the attention she's had over the years. So yeah, I think if you say who is my favourite fighter, it's probably Katie Taylor.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, Adam. I know I said I wouldn't take up too much of your time, but I really do appreciate it, and your knowledge is so extensive, and it's been amazing to listen to you speak. And so yeah, thank you very much, Adam.
Chantel and Tasha will I mean, they'll drive me mad not saying them, but of course there's some brilliant women fighters, and she'll shoot me if I don't say Karis Artingsaul as well. So you don't want to get on Karis's bad side. But yeah, there's some brilliant fighters, Caroline Dubois, brilliant women fighters out there. But yeah, it's Katie Taylor for me. But the best I've seen, Floyd Mayweather live, and the best I've seen from here, Joe Calzaghe, I think. But Lennox Lewis, a different sort of fighter, one of the greats of all time. So we can't forget him.
Adam, thank you very much, man.
No problem at all.